Welcome back to the You Unlimited podcast. I am so excited to dig in today. We've got Trevor Houston in the house. This is going to be such a powerful conversation. He's a career strategist, financial professional, and the host of the top 2% podcast worldwide, Who Ya Know Show. This is going to be a really, really powerful conversation, you guys. I can't wait to dig in with him. We are in person today, which is so powerful. He's been recognized by Forbes, Yahoo Finance, MarketWatch, ABC, CBS. I mean, the list goes on. But what I love about Trevor is that he takes complex strategies and makes them into actionable, easy next best steps. I think that's so powerful. And I think that's something that we absolutely need so that we don't step into that freeze mode, which I know that I have absolutely been in my own business multiple times over. So I'm very excited to dig in with you today, Trevor. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. I'm excited.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Do it. Okay. So what I think is so powerful about you is that you made this really beautiful pivot into financial services, right? So you used to be in the auto industry, then you started to shift into financial services. I would love to talk about that moment in time when you started to recognize maybe this isn't it. Because I think sometimes, even if, let's say we do have our own business and we've built it, we might still have that feeling, this isn't totally it. What did that feel like for you?
To me, when I was in the auto industry, I was a top producer there, and I kept hitting the glass ceiling. Honestly, like I wanted more, and the management, the GM there didn't like me. And so I just kept getting overlooked for opportunities. I wanted more. I wanted growth. I wanted to move into finance. I wanted to move into sales management. And I just knew as long as that guy was there, it wasn't happening.
Yeah.
Okay. And plus, they didn't want to lose their top sales performer by moving me into management, which is kind of the opposite way of looking at it. You would think I would look at it like move him into management so he can duplicate and replicate himself over and over and over. But anyways, long story short, corporate politics, I wasn't going to move up as long as that guy was there.
Yeah.
And as soon as I recognized that, I was like, oh, hell no.
For sure.
Like, I don't want to die a car salesperson. This isn't my calling. I'm good at it. I was the best at it. I'm like, but this isn't what I want for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And so I started to create an escape plan.
Yeah.
And started to study for my series licenses and all of that so that I could move out. And honestly, that wasn't like something that was I had always been thinking about either. I just know that I had a financial advisor that was recruiting me over and over and over when I was in the auto industry. And so that was always kind of like a backup plan in the back of my head, right? Because he had tried to recruit me many, many years. So anyways, there was just a time and a day and an age where it was like enough was enough was enough. I kept hitting that glass ceiling, and I'm like, I got to make an escape plan, And so I think even if you own your own business, you may have moments where it's like enough is enough is enough. You keep hitting that. You keep hitting the ceiling. You want more.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to do something different.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I actually think it's really powerful that you manifested in this manager, because what a beautiful person to then get you to pivot. I think sometimes we forget, like, we're manifesting in all of these people that we're surrounded by for different reasons. And sometimes the reason is to irritate me so much that I leave and I step into maybe something that's more in alignment with my soul. So I think that's really powerful that, sometimes it doesn't feel like that in the moment, but looking back, you're like, well, thank God this, I didn't get everything that I wanted, because I might still be there.
Absolutely. 1000%. I always say this, that God is kind of like, the way I look at it is, you ever seen the eagles and how the eagles treat the eaglets? So what they do is the little eaglets, they make the nest real nice and warm and cozy and comfortable, and they feed those little eaglets to the point where it's time for them to leave the nest, right? And at the time when it's time for them to leave the nest, They actually stop feeding them. They
Mm.
remove all the comfort out of the nest, and
Wow.
underneath is a bunch of thorns and spikes and sticks, and they make it
Wow.
really, really uncomfortable to the point where that eaglet's like, man, screw this, I'm out,
Yeah,
time
for
to go,
sure.
right?
Yes.
And flies, right?
Interesting.
And so I think
Yeah,
God oftentimes works that way, wants to make things a little bit uncomfortable for you. So, because otherwise, if it was comfortable, you would just stay in that.
for
I
sure.
would have just stayed,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
And I would have
Same.
died in the car business.
Yes.
And like I'm not about that life. I'm free
Yes.
now. I
Yeah.
literally I left the auto industry, and like there's a whole new world out there. I was captured in that industry,
Mm-hmm.
like in a building. I
Yeah.
think about how many hours I spent
Yes.
just in that
Yes.
cage. I look at it as like a cage
Yeah,
now.
absolutely. Same.
And now I'm like, I'm free to go and come as I please and
Mm.
build my business and do all these things. And like the whole world is now my dealership. You
Yeah,
know
I
what I mean?
love that. Yes. So
And,
powerful.
but I had to get real uncomfortable first for that to happen.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And so what did you do to kind of ease the discomfort, or were you like just lean into the discomfort? Like for someone who's like ready to make the pivot and it's very uncomfortable, how did you kind of get yourself to the other side of it?
yeah, great question. I mean, first thing that I had to do was get a mentor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
same.
my mentor was my financial advisor, who basically, here's what we need to do. So it kind of gave me a little bit of an action plan, because I think when you're unprepared, if you're not prepared, that's when you have probably the most anxiety
Yes,
and stress.
totally.
Like even in this interview here, you got notes,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Preparation.
Yes.
Like if you came
Yeah.
in here and you didn't like,
Let's wing it. Yeah, it might have
and
felt
that could
different.
actually it could actually have a great conversation too.
Right, for sure.
But preparation, it's even for me when I have a big fear of public speaking. So
Never would have guessed that.
I know, right?
Yeah.
The preparation, right?
Yeah.
So it helps me if I go on
Yes.
stage or something like that. Again, preparation helps me to calm my nerves,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So having that plan, having that preparation, I was working with my mentor, and he's like, "Okay, we need to do this. We need to do this. We need to do this. We need to do this." That kind of helped me. But I will tell you, belief. He said something to me. I remember we were going through it, and I still didn't have that. I still wasn't ready.
Mm-hmm.
But he said something to me one day that put a belief back into me. He said, "Trevor, he said, let me ask you a question. You're a good car salesperson, right?" And I said, "Yeah." He says, "Like how good are you?" And I was like, "Well, I'm number one. I'm like the top producer." Like, he's like, "So if you're number one, then any dealership on any corner would be lucky to have you. Wouldn't that be right?"
Mm-hmm.
It's like, "Yeah." He says, "Then if this doesn't work out, you can always go back."
Yes.
And I was like, "Oh my gosh, like wait a minute." So he just gave me the safety net. Like
Yes.
you
Yeah. Create the
you
safety
have
net in
nothing to
your mind.
lose. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Like you can always go back,
Yes. Oh my God. So powerful.
right?
Create the safety net in your mind.
You
Yeah.
know? And so I was like, "Oh shoot, you're damn right. Like I could go anywhere and they would hire me in a heartbeat." So yeah, I'm out.
Yeah.
Peace. Like it put the belief back in me. Okay, I can do this. And so I took that leap of faith. And then it's kind of funny. Once you take the leap of faith, I will say burn the bridges.
For sure.
Okay? So it took that safety net to get me out, but then you have to burn the safety net. Burn the bridge.
Yeah.
Because if you have an out, you'll take it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Right? And I didn't want to go back. Like I knew
Yeah.
once I'd leaped,
Yes.
I made the decision. Now that I made the decision, like burn the bridge.
Yes. Yeah.
Never going back.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. Would you say that that is kind of the same sense around like investing? Like, I think a lot of people are like, I don't know if I should invest. I don't have the money. Like, I'm scared. What if and I kind of see investing sometimes as that when I think about investing in, let's say, mentors,
Mm-hmm.
where that was kind of like my burn the boats thing, where it's like, if I have this
Mm.
like cushiony savings, then I might not work as hard to build my business, right? Because it's like, I'm putting the like fuel to the fire here, it's like, and I can have both. But when I was first starting to invest, right, where it was like, oh God, this is like a lot. I remember being like, oh, should I do it? Should I do it? And by doing it, it actually had me show up differently in my business. Was that similar for you as well?
Yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
like it's like a muscle.
Yeah.
You got to work it out, but you don't
Yes.
start with, getting on the bench and doing like
Yeah.
350 pounds.
Right. For sure.
You won't
Yeah.
even be able to lift it.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And so it's the same thing. Yeah. When you're investing, I encourage people if they don't have that muscle,
Mm-hmm.
they're not going to continue. They're not going to stay in it. And then if
Yeah.
something happens, like if the market has a crash or something like that, they're not able to handle it yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
So there's a tolerance to that.
Mm-hmm.
And getting people in is important. And you don't want to start off, again, like I said, if you haven't started out with 300 pounds, you won't just start that way.
Yeah.
You want to start
for sure.
small
Yeah.
and
I
build
totally
up to
agree.
it. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yes. It's kind of like being like, I don't know if I'm going to do the 100K investment right out the gate.
Right.
Maybe. But maybe I just want to like do the little course and like dip my toes in and then be like, okay, that felt good. Now I'm going to kind of scale it up. Or you might be that person that's like, I need to go all in. And I
Yep.
know that this is my person. Again, use your body, start to really connect to how does it feel in my body when I'm given this option? Does it feel expansive, yet also frightening? Because when we expand, there will still be that fear, right? Noticing the difference between total constriction in the body, which is
I see. I like what you're talking about. I think it is a little bit different when we're talking about, to your point, when you're saying like maybe an investment in a course, investment in a coach,
Yeah.
program, especially if you have one-on-one coaching and you've got a mentor, you've got somebody helping you,
Yeah.
getting you to the other end. Yeah, I think that there's nothing wrong with knowing where you're at and to say, hey, I could go all in.
Yeah.
I might need that all in.
Yeah.
That comes from knowing yourself,
Yes.
right?
Sure.
You may go, yeah, if I just do the course, I don't know if that'll get me there. But if I have the
Right.
coach plus, if I have the course plus the coaching,
Right.
I know that I'll take the time. They're holding me
Yes.
accountable.
Yes.
And if you know that about yourself, then yeah, I could see going all in from the beginning. But when you originally asked me the question, I was thinking more on the lines of like financial investments, like in the market or something like that. Like if I'm investing
Yes.
money, let's say I've never really invested any money before.
Right.
Like if I go, maybe I need to hit the goal that I want. Maybe I need to invest, $1,000 a month to hit the goal. But I've never done it before. So let's start with $100 a month,
Right.
and then $200 a month,
Mm-hmm.
and then $300. And once you start seeing that money start growing, you're gonna go, okay, all right. But if you go right from the jump and you throw $1,000 out there, right? All of a sudden, your lifestyle has to change because you don't have that extra money in your pocket.
Right.
And then you're like, and so what do? You start making sacrifices, and then all of a sudden you dip into your investments early, or you
Right.
again, you weren't ready for it yet. You might
Yeah.
not be ready for that quite yet.
Yes.
So I tell people to kind of take some baby steps to get ready first.
Yes. Yes. That's
If that makes
powerful.
sense.
That makes total sense. So let's say someone who hasn't necessarily done investing in the past, where would they start with investing? Let's say someone who's listening in that's like, okay, like I've got my own business and now it's making, money that I have some that I can put to the side and start to invest. What would you do with that person that came to you that was like, where do I start?
Yeah, everybody's a little different.
Mhm.
Obviously, we would get to know their situation a little bit better, figure out what their goals are, what they're trying to accomplish as far as are they looking for short-term, midterm, long-term goals that we're trying to hit, what their risk tolerance looks like,
Yeah.
and you can't just look at someone's age and determine what their risk tolerance looks like.
Right.
A lot of it is psychological. Like I grew up in like extreme poverty. So for a long time, I was very risk averse actually when it came to investing because I had a scarcity mindset.
Right.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And even though I was in my like 20s when I first started investing, you would think I would be super aggressive.
Right. Yeah.
No, I was super conservative.
Yeah.
Because like I grew up poor and
Right.
like I don't want to lose this.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I worked hard for this.
Right.
I don't want to lose this. So everybody's a little bit different, and it's really getting to know, your customer and just figuring out what their goals are, what their motivations are, their belief systems
Mhm.
around money
Yes. Big one.
is super important. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because again, like me, when I was in my early 20s, I was very, very risk averse, actually. I did not want, and it took, again, my financial advisor when I first started, he had to help me get in. Like, he
Yes.
knew that was what I needed. Had to help me, kind of inch my way in to
Mhm.
that scenario. So again, somebody that's in business that's starting to make some money, it would just be a matter of getting to know their situation. Everybody's different. And then figuring out what's that next step. So,
Mhm.
yeah, there's no one size fits all when it comes to investing. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, I love it. When thinking about the business that you built,
Mm-hmm.
I love thinking about business in three phases where it's like you've got the ideation phase, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you're like, "Oh, it's just a spark. What if?" And then you've got the I'm scaling my business. I'm starting to scale this. Like I'm seeing that they like this. Now, how can I bring more clients in? How can I serve more? And then there's a level of maintaining that level of success too, because it takes something different at every stage. Can we talk about each of those stages, first starting with the ideation stage? What did
Mm-hmm.
it take for you to say, I've got an idea and now we're going to actually run with it? What did that stage look like for you?
We're talking about when I left the auto industry and went into financial
Yes.
services.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
You know, you don't know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
When I don't know if I really had a ideation stage there to begin with. I just knew that I needed to escape.
Right.
That
The
was
escape
my
plan.
that was
Yes.
my idea. I needed to escape the auto industry. I was running from something,
Yeah.
right?
Whatever works.
And I didn't know what I was getting into. I know that when I first got into financial services, it was really hard.
Yeah.
Um, because in the automotive industry, I had customers coming to me,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
so I had inbound leads,
Right.
and that is something that when I got into financial services, now it's all outbound, and I'm trying to go
Yeah.
talk to people, and they have not expressed any interest.
Right. It's a harder sell for sure.
Absolutely. It's not
Yeah.
like when somebody walks into the dealership to look at a car and they're
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, can I look at this car?" And I'm like, "Yeah, blah, blah, blah,"
Yeah.
right? But when I'm going to them,
Yes.
trying to disturb them and create interest that they never, people run from you.
Yeah. For sure.
It's like when someone comes and knocks on your front door, you're like,
Oh, I do not like when people knock on my front door. I'm like, I did not expect anything. I'm not
"Uh,
answering.
right."
Yeah, I
And
don't answer.
you may actually need or want what they have,
Right.
but the approach is wrong.
Yeah.
They came to your front door.
Right.
Mm-mm.
I know.
People love, this is what I've noticed. People love to buy, they hate to be sold.
Yes.
So when they come to your front door, they're selling you.
Yeah.
And the same thing in me. When I got into financial services and I'm going up to people, they need what I have. They need it.
Yes.
They probably even want it,
Yeah.
but I'm selling it
Yeah.
and they're not buying it. You see what
Mhm.
I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So that was the challenge when I first got in. It was like, man, I know. And it was a big struggle because I knew, I was like, I'm a great presenter. Like, I knew what I was capable of from the auto industry. I'm like, what is wrong? What's the disconnect?
Mhm.
It was like the harder I was trying and to try to present the numbers and show them all this and that. Here's what we can do, and let me show you, and blah 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 blah.
Yes.
They were just running from me,
Yeah.
and it's because I was selling.
Yes.
And I was like, the difference is, I finally put it all together, was the difference between inbound and outbound. And so I guess what I have focused on the most in my business is creating inbound leads
Perfect. Yes.
where they come to me
Yeah.
and I'm not going to them.
Yeah.
They are expressing interest
Mm-hmm.
and they come to me.
Yeah.
And through that, again, if people love to buy, they hate to be sold. Well, I'm allowing them to buy.
Uh-huh.
I'm
Yes.
letting them come to me so that they
Right.
can buy me and buy my services and
Yeah.
all of that. So I guess that would probably be, when you're talking about ideation, that was my
Yes.
big aha moment.
Big
It was
one.
like, oh my God, I've got to create inbound. Otherwise I'm going to starve.
Right. For sure. Yeah. Burn the boats. Yeah.
Mhm.
So what did that look like? I know you talk about leveraging social media to build your personal brand. Is that kind of how you started to get those inbound leads?
It's
Bring us through some
exactly
tactics. Yeah.
That's exactly what it was. So in the beginning, it was like, all right, need marketing,
Yeah.
right? If nobody, well, Grant Cardone says this. He says, where attention goes, money flows.
Yes.
Okay. And if nobody knows you, nobody flows you.
Nice.
Okay.
Fair.
So if I want to bring people to me, they need awareness. Like it's the first step of like a sales funnel at the very top. It's awareness.
Yes.
If they don't know you, they can't form interest and they can't make a decision, which is at the bottom. They can't take action. So I knew I needed awareness. Well, how do I do that? Well, I need to create a personal brand. I need to start marketing. I need to start talking. I need to start speaking. So I remember being at a conference and they asked the audience, they said, what's that one thing holding you back in your business? What's that one thing? Write it down on a piece of paper. That one thing you knew if you could overcome that today, it would take you to the next level. And I wrote down public speaking. And that was also my biggest fear.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm like, oh, public speaking. I knew that was the thing I had to overcome. I knew I had to.
Yes.
Like if I'm going to create awareness and interest,
Yes.
right, and a personal brand, I need to overcome public speaking, which was literally a crippling, terrifying fear of mine.
Yeah.
So much so that I used to hide out in the bathroom.
Yeah.
From speaking opportunities. Literally, I would hide in the bathroom.
Yeah. Yes. Relatable. Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay. And it just so happened I was doing some volunteering at the time and was helping this community of job seekers, and I got recognized for it and was invited onto a radio show. This was back in 2017. I was invited on a radio show. It was my first ever appearance on anything. And I was terrified.
Yeah.
Absolutely just crippling fear.
Yeah.
But when I left, I was like, we have to do this.
Yes.
I was like, we got to do this. This is amazing. I had the best time, even though I was like.
Yeah. I know. What do I do with my hands? Yeah.
I don't know.
For sure.
I don't.
For sure.
Yeah,
Yes.
I was so terrified.
Yeah.
But I left there like, oh my gosh, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Because even if this is what I tell people, when you overcome your biggest fear, even if you suck at it, like the thing that you're trying to overcome, even if you're not good at it, the fact that you did it in the first place gives you a confidence.
Yes.
Right?
I totally agree. Yes.
So I left that feeling confident and like feeling this energy and just like, wow. And I'm like, we have to do this. And I knew I had been following this guy who was in the mortgage industry. I'd been following him, and he had a radio show, and so we did some research. And I didn't know where to start. I just knew that I needed to get started, and I did some research and found a place that was literally right across the street from my office. Like the studio was right across the street. And so I started in 2018. I started the Who You Know show.
Nice.
And you know, that's where it really all started, was to create that interest and bring the inbound leads. Otherwise, I'll be honest with you, straight up transparency. I wish I didn't have to do all the social media stuff to have a successful business.
Yeah, I think that's very relatable. A lot of people are like, if I could just not do all the things.
All of that, yeah. Because that's like, to be a content creator is like a business in its own. It can be, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Can be a lot of work.
Yeah.
I wish I didn't have to do all those things, but unfortunately, it's just the way it's the world that we live in. The attention is right here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? This is where it is.
Yeah.
And if you're not able to garner the attention, then, you know, as a business owner in today's day and age, I don't know how you survive. I mean, some people can do it. I don't know how they do it. I know it wasn't working for me.
Yeah. So. You think about Gary Vee's book, Day Trading Attention.
Yeah.
Like that's what we're doing essentially on social media. So it's so interesting to think about that. And but it's working because essentially I channeled this one time in like another really deep healing experience where it was like, social media is prime real estate to change someone's life, to inspire someone to think about something differently. Christina, you are not checking a box. Use that as prime real estate to talk soul to someone. Like, what do they need to hear today?
Amen.
And then I was like, it's not about me. How can I serve? How can I lean into this space? How can I share something that will hit that person exact, like the person who's meant to see it, magnetize them in and allow them to experience what they need to have maybe the breakthrough or the confidence to go after the thing that they wanted to do. So that was my breakthrough, is starting to realize, like, man, it's not about me. Like, what can I do today? This is prime real estate. Every stage I walk onto, it's not about me. How can I serve? Every podcast I step
Yep.
into, not about me. How can I serve? And that really started to transform my experience of, social media, keynote speaking, all of that stuff.
Oh, I love that. I love what you said there, because it does. You do almost have to separate the two activities in a second, for a second, because when you think about like what we're doing right now, I love this.
Yeah,
I do this all day
Yeah,
long.
same.
Let's go.
Yes.
Get
How
me a-
far you've come, by
Right?
the way.
Oh,
Amazing.
thank you.
Yes.
I do. I love this. I
Yeah.
love the conversations that we get to
Yeah.
have. I love the presentations. I've always loved that. I love speaking on stage. I love that part. The part that I don't like so much is what you have to do after. And so that's the part that I have been building a team to outsource all of that. So
Great point.
you see what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
I just want to show up, get behind the cameras. Let's do our
Yes.
thing, have our conversation,
Yes.
and then the rest happens.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes. Super
And-
powerful. Yeah.
And for a lot of people, when they first get into here, they don't have all those pieces, right? So they either have to hire an agency, and they're going to charge them an arm and a leg,
Yes.
or they do it themselves,
Right.
which was the route I took.
Yeah.
I chose to piece it together, which probably came from a scarcity mindset. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know where that came from, but I
Right.
decided to, but it actually was a blessing, because I learned those pieces. I learned these different things that you needed to do so that I could then outsource it and build
Yes.
my own social media team.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I guess this part I enjoy a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yes.
other, what happens after
Yeah.
we get off these cameras,
Same.
I don't
Yes.
like doing that part.
100%. When I first got the idea of launching the podcast, it was like 6 months before it actually launched. And I had done all these interviews, and I just sat on them because I was like, I don't want to edit. I don't know how. It's overwhelming. What do I do? And then I got this ping. It's like, what a disservice to the people that need to hear what they had to say, and to the people that stepped into the space and gave you their time and energy. So that's when I was like, I have to hire someone. Like, I need to hire someone, because it does not make sense for me to be sitting on this medicine. It's not fair,
Right.
And so,
And it also doesn't make
Yes.
sense for you to be sitting behind a computer trying to edit.
oh gosh, that would have taken me so long. Yes, yeah,
And for those listening that maybe are, wanting to get into the content game or podcasting or whatever it is, guess what? There are people out there. Go to Upwork,
yes,
okay? You can hire a freelance editor
yeah,
overseas, because the ones here in America are going to charge you a lot more.
yes.
And probably won't
Insider scoop.
and they won't be as good.
Yeah, yep,
The ones overseas, they're really good, and you'll make a difference in that person's life.
exactly.
Right?
Yes,
The $8 or $10 an hour that you're paying
Yes.
that person,
yeah, it's huge for them.
it's
Yes.
huge for them, life-changing for them.
Yeah.
And they do better work.
Yes, for sure. They do. So what does that process look like when you go into, let's say the person's listening, they're like, I want to hire someone. So they're going into, all these different places where they can hire, like you were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
How do you make a good hire? Have you made bad hires? Have you
Oh.
done, you know what I mean? Like, let's peel back the layers of like making a good hire.
That's
What
such
does
a
that
great-
process look like?
That's a great question.
Yeah,
Yes, I have made a bad hire. And
same.
here is how you avoid that, because that's painful, right?
Yeah, it is.
Because you spend time and you
Yes.
spend money,
Yes,
and then you get a crap product, and you actually spend. It costs you so much money when you make
Yeah.
a bad hire.
uh-huh. It does.
The job description, especially, okay, here's what I do on Upwork. So I'll put out a job description, and then in the job description, I will ask, as part of their application, I will ask for not only a sample of their work, but a sample of what project I'm looking for them to do. So let's say
great. Yeah.
I want them to edit my podcast. Let's say
Yes.
I want them to do video editing for my podcast, right?
Yeah.
Well, I would put the application, or put the job description out there, and I would ask them, send me, a 2-minute clip,
Yes.
edited version of this, and I would put the video file in there. So they would send not only a sample of something else. I don't want to see something else. I want to see what you can do with my show.
Yes.
So send me back just 2 minutes. Just give me a little
Yeah.
2-minute
Uh-huh.
sample of your work
Yes.
on my episode.
Yes.
And they would send it back. And now I get to see, okay,
That's so smart.
here's 10 different
Yeah.
videos that I get to watch. Boom,
Uh-huh.
boom, 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 boom. And I
Yeah.
get to go, oh, I really like this one.
Yes.
Ooh, but they're a little more pricey. But you get what you pay for, right? Okay.
Mhm.
And this one over here, man, this is pretty dang good too. And wow, they're cost effective. Oh, but they took too long. You know, you get to kind of
Yes.
start weighing a little bit.
Yeah.
But you have a true sense of what their work is going to
Yeah.
be like.
Yes.
What was the communication like through that process?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Did they even follow instruction?
Yeah.
Right? Because I have so many people like on Upwork. I'll put that in the job description, and it's like they didn't even read the job description,
Totally.
so they missed it.
Yes.
So guess what? That tells me something.
Yeah,
You're not
you're
good
not
with instruction. You didn't even
detail-oriented.
read the.
Uh-huh.
You missed it, so I'm like delete.
Yes. Yes.
Next.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So it helps me kind of weed through some of the applications and things like that, and gives me a point of reference when I'm looking at hiring them.
So good. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, that's so powerful. I love that so much. So switching gears a little bit, I'm
Mhm.
curious, how has spirituality, like your beliefs, all of these things, played a role in business?
That's really good. That's a great question because I remember, you know, so growing up, my father, you know, I remember him. He would always read the Bible and things like that. I remember Christmas. He would read us the Bible, and we would go to church, but it was always kind of like not forced, but it was never really my decision. So growing up, it wasn't like, you know, you just go.
Mhm.
And it wasn't consistent. There wasn't a consistency there. So faith was always like around, but it wasn't really my choice.
Mhm.
And then I remember when I was in the auto industry, I really honestly don't remember what brought me to church. Like I've racked my brain around this trying to remember, like, how did I get there?
Mhm.
But I walked into this church, Covenant Church in McKinney. Shout out to you. I walked in there, and there was this Pastor Joel Scrivener, and I just loved him. He was like amazing. He was an entrepreneur,
Mhm.
4-time Taekwondo
Mm.
champion,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so he's a fighter.
Yeah.
I got in a lot of trouble in my life
Mhm.
early on for fighting.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
was very aggressive. I got a lot of trouble in my life for fighting.
Mhm.
So I related with this guy,
Yeah.
but I guess his fighting was a little bit more channeled, right?
Fair.
He was a
Yeah.
professional,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And so I related with him, and anyways, he was an entrepreneur, and another thing that really spoke to me was worship music.
Mhm. Yeah.
Nothing will break me down
Yes.
like worship music.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I will literally, like, you want to see me get emotional, I will be crying up there like, oh,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah. Yes.
But I
Yeah.
love it. It helps me in so many ways. But when it comes to business, there have been times where, you know, when you got things all figured out, it's almost like it's human nature to feel like you're in control,
Mhm.
and you know everything's good. But when that carpet is ripped out from underneath you,
Yes.
and the world's crumbling down around you, you know, that's when you find people looking up at a higher, you know, oh Lord, save me.
Mhm.
That whole thing,
Yes.
come on,
Yep.
save me, God.
You've
You know
been
that.
there many times.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
And I try to remember, and it's hard, it's human nature, but I try to remember that we should not only we should praise on the mountaintop, and we should be praised in the valley as well,
Mm.
both.
Yeah.
Not only when you're at the bottom,
Mhm.
you know, and that's when you find most people like,
Totally.
God help me, save me.
Yes.
And that's what it was for me. I remember, again, when I made that leap of faith, moving from automotive to financial services.
Yeah.
And that first year was really hard. And I remember thinking I was going to lose everything. I remember really having a lot of anxiety, depression, doubt, fear, and just like all of these things, feeling like a failure, and being on my knees, feeling it. And but there's something to it when you have a higher power and you know that like there's a scripture. Look at the birds in the air. They know they neither sow or reap, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them anyway. Are you not more valuable than they? When I read that scripture, I remember at that time in my life thinking, wow, the birds, they don't work, they don't save, they don't earn,
Right.
they don't store it away.
Yeah.
And your heavenly Father feeds them anyway. And like thinking, are you not more valuable than they? Like, so you know what? God's got me.
Yes.
I might, around me, I may see a storm, but I can find peace.
Yeah.
Knowing that God's got it.
Yes.
And that helps me get me back up the next day.
So true. Yeah.
So
powerful. I always say God controls my income. Like, I think when we get really scared on sales calls, we're like, this person has to say yes, or I can't do this. Like, people feel that energy and they don't want to purchase. They don't want to be sold to, right? But they love to buy. So I always connect to the fact that God controls my income. If this is a divine alignment for both of us, it will be aligned. And if not, then it will be someone who's even more aligned. And so I always connect to that because I'm like, people are conduits for God's source universe to feed us, to support us, to source us with the ability to say yes to everything that's in alignment with our soul. And that's what money helps us do.
You're right. You're right about what you said there, because when you're so attached to the outcome, right? It's this thing called commission breath.
Yes.
When you're so attached to the outcome that you're like, super high pressure or whatever, they can feel that energy.
100%.
And it makes it more about you than it is them.
Yep.
Right? And when they feel like it's about you and not them, it's over.
Exactly.
It's over.
Right.
All right? Unless, I will flip this around.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm going to flip this around.
I'm curious.
Okay. So, I'll give you an example. So, there's a lady that cuts my hair, and she's this little old Chinese lady, and she's been cutting my hair for like 10 years. And I mean, even through like COVID, she came to my house and cut my hair when everything was shut down.
Nice.
And like, she's just the sweetest lady. She takes so like extra care. I mean, to the point where sometimes I just want to get in and out and get a haircut, but no, I'm thinking she's gonna, give you the massage and the whole thing. Anyway, she just takes so much good care of you.
Yeah.
Extra level of service. And there are times where she'll be like telling me that there's an incentive or something that she's trying to hit, or a goal that she's trying to hit. She needs to sell so much product.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And I'm only buying the product to help her.
Exactly.
I'm not buying it because I need the product.
Right.
I'm buying it to help her.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Literally, I'm like, what do you need? Oh, you're trying to go, they're going to send you on a cruise? Hell yeah. I want you to go on a cruise. You've been taking care of me for 10 years. Yeah, what do I need to buy?
Exactly.
I'm buying more shampoo.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Stocked up for the year, yeah.
So there is a way that you can position yourself and to tell your client or prospect your needs as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And it not come off as self-serving.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
She's made me feel so good about just the level of service that she's provided me all these years. I will do anything. Like, yeah, absolutely. I want to. How many bottles do I need to buy?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah, I think that's a good point.
Right.
Yeah.
But let's just say that relationship hadn't been established. She hasn't provided all that value.
Yeah.
Same scenario, but this is the first haircut I'm ever getting from this lady.
Right.
And she's telling me, hey, I got this cruise they're trying to send me on, blah, 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 blah.
Yes.
And, buy all this shampoo. I'm going to be like, no, I'm good. I don't need any shampoo right now.
Right. For sure.
And she probably wouldn't get me to that second haircut and then that third haircut and that fourth. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So time and place. If you've earned the right, I always tell people, earn your ask.
Totally.
Earn your ask.
Yes.
So anyways.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, what I'm hearing you say too is like that power of connections, like and establishing the relationship giving
Mm-hmm.
before you're asking,
Oh yeah.
right? Just from a pure heart, not giving with the intention of making me ask, but truly just being like, I love giving. Like, just really let it be like a present experience and give in ways that feel like they're soul aligned, or else
Mm-hmm.
resentment then starts to come into the picture, because we have an expectation there. So I'd love for you to talk about the power of connections. You've got this podcast called Who You Know.
Mm-hmm.
So how do people start to lean into their connections and start to really give in a way that feels soul aligned for them?
Yeah, that's such a great question. Yeah, the Who You Know show, it is all about relationships and connection, and um, it's powerful. I think about in my life, my journey in my life, and there's always been people along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were to write a book of your story, your journey, I bet you'll see that too. It wasn't until I started writing a book that it was like, wait a minute, dang, here are all these like people.
Mm,
It's all about people.
yes,
And I think God puts those people in your path
absolutely.
to learn from.
Yes.
And so yeah, that's part of the reason why the Who You Know show, why we named it that. And actually, with the job seeker community that I was helping and serving, they every time they would land a job, I would ask them how it happened. I was just trying to figure out how are you getting this job? How are you overcoming these obstacles, this, that, and the other, and just getting to know their situation. And every time they would tell their story, it was always a Who You Know moment. It was always, it was somebody I knew from the past, and this, that,
So
and the other.
true.
And I was like, wow, okay. So we named the show the Who You Know Show podcast. But I think one of the best ways to, like we were just talking about, the best ways to build relationships is to give selflessly.
Mm-hmm.
That is the definition of networking.
Mm-hmm.
The definition of networking is the cultivation of productive relationships for business or employment. Okay, that's Webster's definition of networking.
Oh, okay.
The cultivation of productive relationships for business or employment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, think about that. Cultivation. The word cultivation, you have to have the right nourishment, the right soil, the right light, the right water, right? If you're cultivating a crop, a plant, right? You're growing something. You got to water it. You got to plant, you got to have the right sunlight in order for it to grow. And so giving of yourself is that light, it's that water. And you have to think of this relationship as like a seed, right? And doing it selflessly, right? Again, that's the other part of it, because and a lot, it's so funny because I've had certain people ask me about like, well, how do I know how to help someone? I'm like, stop and ask.
Yeah, it's that simple. Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
Like when I remember again, so I became a career strategist kind of out of like, it just happened. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like it just happened because I started to ask job seekers
Yes.
what their challenges were,
Yeah.
what they're going through. I sat
Right.
down, I took the time to sit down and figure out what they were going through. And I started to see a pattern,
Yeah.
commonality, and a theme. And I said, you know what? Can I solve that problem?
Right.
Because that problem, that was their need in the moment, right? That was what they truly desired. They desired to get back to work and to get their income. So I figured, you know what? If I could help them solve that problem, the rest will be easy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
They'll want to come work with me on the other side.
Right.
It's kind of like when I go to the haircut lady and she massages me. She doesn't have to do all of that. It's the little extra.
Yes.
It's the extra. So what their true desire was, they wanted to get back to work. And so anyways, I started to develop processes and systems to figure out how to get them noticed, how to get them back to work.
Yeah.
And so over the years of doing that, I became a career strategist at the same time. So it just figuring out how to give first, and the rest, the universe will take care of the rest.
Yes.
I think, who says this? Somebody says this. I don't know if it's Zig Ziglar. Help people get what they want. and you can have what you want. They'll help you get what you want, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever heard that.
Yeah, well, right now.
Right now,
Yeah. Yes, but I agree with it. I think it's powerful. Yeah.
yeah, help
Mm-hmm.
people get what they want, and you can have it, whatever you want, something like that. I think it was
Yeah.
Zig Ziglar that said something like that. But anyways,
Amazing.
yeah, so just help people, and um, there's that acronym HOPE,
Yes.
help one person every day,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And again, do it selflessly. Figure out how you can solve the other person's problem. That's what networking is to me. How can I add value to your life? Um, like, our friend Amberly Lago,
Mm-hmm.
right? The first part is when you're building a relationship, find a commonality, find something in common with that person.
Mm-hmm.
So with her, it was the motorcycle accident.
Yeah.
So she got in a motorcycle accident, and I did too when I was 20. I got in a motorcycle accident. So when I heard her talking about her story, it was like an instant connection,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And so then, how do I add value? For me, one of the ways that I add value for her, for a person like her, was to invite her onto my podcast, right? It's like, okay, let's do that.
Yeah.
So she came onto the show, and we, again, through that, instant connection, a lot of conversation, a lot of laughs, a lot of good things came from that. And then from that, I started to go above and beyond, actually, for her with some of the content I was creating.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was like, you know what? Let me push power to power.
Yeah.
Right? Like, Amberly's a powerful person, and I love her spirit. So let me push power to power. And so I just gave her a bunch of added content that I normally don't do for other guests that come on the show.
Yeah. Yes.
And she was like, oh, wow, I can't believe that. You did
Yes.
that. Oh, my gosh. Like, I made her a speaker reel.
Yes.
You know?
Amazing. Yeah.
And she was like, wow, I can't believe you did this. And then, so what did she do? She invited me. She bought tickets to Tony Robbins.
Mm-hmm.
And we go to Tony Robbins.
Amazing.
And talk about relationship building. We're jumping up and down.
For sure. Releasing limiting beliefs, unpacking things left and right.
And we've just, anyways, but it started by me figuring out, how could I add some value? How could I give her something?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so I think for the audience, the takeaway here is for you to look at either who you're looking to build that relationship with, and figure out how you can push power to them. How can you add value? How can you get, what can you do? And if you don't know what you can do, ask, sit down. But I will say this. I've had, I had somebody one time, this drove me nuts. I had somebody one time, we went to some networking event, and they knew who I was, and they kept asking me all night long, what can I do for you? How can I help you? What can I do for you? How can I help you? What can I do for you?
And the energy behind that is very needy.
Yes.
Yes.
It drove me nuts.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know you. I literally had to stop. I was like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I know someone told you to add value and to give.
Yeah.
Like I'm giving that advice right now on the show. Like I'm telling you, add and give that, but don't force it.
Yeah,
It's got to be natural.
For sure.
Right?
Yes.
So and I stopped her and I was like, listen, I know somebody's told you to like add value, give, figure out how you can serve the other person. I get it. And I appreciate where this is coming from. But honestly, I don't know you. I don't know how you could add value to my life.
Yeah, exactly.
And you haven't even asked me. Like, so just stop.
Yeah, I think you can add value by taking a step away.
Yes. Please go over there.
Yeah, exactly. That would help me a lot.
That would make me feel better
for
right
sure,
now
for
in this moment.
Yeah.
So don't go overboard with it, guys.
Right.
Like, as I'm telling you this, add value, all this stuff. Like, it's
Have it
gotta
be
be
heart-led.
It's gotta be natural.
Heart-led.
You're either a go-giver or you're not. I don't know. Maybe, do you think that's a muscle you can build?
Yeah, and I think just follow your intuition, right? Like, it's like, where do you want to give value? Like, like what has you feel like energized to give in that sort of way? We kind of know that. And so just kind of follow your intuition with it, I think can be a really powerful tool of saying, like, does that feel expansive to give in this way? Or am I doing it from like an expectation to get something back? Again, that needy energy. I'm doing. What am I going to get back? You can feel it.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't think I want anything from you because I think you're going to ask me something really big that I don't know if I want to give it to you. So it's like, just have it be from pure energy. And I think that will be number one. That'll really,
Yeah.
support.
yeah, what's the motive? You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, like with Amberly, I just give it to her, pushing power to power. I love her
Yes.
spirit. You know, we
Yes.
had that
She's amazing.
commonality. She's just a beautiful person, and I did it. Just there was no motivation behind it.
Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah.
hey, I just made you all this extra content.
Yeah. It just
You
felt
know,
good.
it did feel
Something
good.
told you to do it.
It did
Yes.
feel really good to do.
Absolutely.
And she was
Yeah.
like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you did that."
Yeah.
And she took me to Tony Robbins. And from then,
Yeah.
it's just been like, we've
Yes.
created a really good relationship. But yeah, do it just out of a good place. Don't do it with any motivation behind it.
Yeah.
And, you reap what you sow. And if you sow a good seed, you'll reap a good harvest. So keep sowing seeds, but make sure you go water those seeds too,
Mm-hmm.
right? Make sure you go
Yes.
water those seeds.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I think with Amberly too, she's such a giver that
mm-hmm.
that was probably the energetic exchange too, where you were like, something tells me I just want to give to you, where it's
Mm.
like, again, that law of reciprocity, like when we're giving, we're receiving in ways that we don't even know are possible yet. So that's the energy. I'm so similar with Amberly. I'm like, I just want to I just want to like give you so much because she's such a kind soul that you're
Mm.
like, how can I support? Like, I'm just going to do it without even asking,
Yep.
And it's so genuine because that's who she is. So
That's
again,
a
lean
great
into
point.
that. Yeah.
No, that's a great point. Recognizing the energy of the other person too.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've done this with other people
Yeah.
that their energy's a little different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And definitely the didn't get the same result or energy.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of it came through relationships. I'll give you an example. So with Grant and Elena Cardone.
Mm-hmm.
Love them, love what they do. I've had Grant on the show. I've had Elena twice. I've had Elena's daughter. But everything has been super transactional.
Mm-hmm.
Love them.
Mm-hmm.
And if y'all are listening right now, I love you. You know why?
Shout out to my peeps.
Y'all
Yeah.
got middle. They got people in between.
Yeah,
And I get it. I get
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
Right. They're very, very busy, important people. I get it.
Yes.
They got people in between. But it makes it tough when you're trying to build a relationship.
Right.
And you got
Yeah.
the gatekeeper who, like,
Right.
let's say I do something extra, I go above and beyond, I'm adding value, I'm pushing power to power, but they
Yes.
gotta, it's like,
The middleman has to
did
pass
you
it
even
along.
see it?
Yeah.
Did you even get it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? That type
Mhm.
of a deal. So,
Lean
anyways,
into
just,
your intuition with it. Yeah.
yeah.
Like you're saying, I think it's powerful to like you were just mentioning, where's their energy at? Are they,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like kind of tune in. I think that is there's something kind of interesting there about like yeah, do I want to gift into this way? Does it feel like it will be well received? Just kind of tuning into their energy too. Everything is energy.
Yep.
So powerful.
I love that. Yeah, you're right. Everything is energy.
Yeah. I love it. Well, speaking of the power of connections, how can people connect with you? Because I'm positive they're going to want more of you. So what's the best way to connect with you?
Just LinkedIn. Like LinkedIn, I'm locked in, get the job done when I clock in. Okay.
How many times have you said that?
Shout out Tony with the keys. Okay.
Okay.
So Tony with the keys, he built he created an anthem for our show.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Cool.
And yeah, and he raps this song, and that's one of the lyrics. Like, LinkedIn, I'm locked in, got the job done when I clock in.
Nice.
So yeah, just connect with me over there, and whether you need something for your career, if you're a business owner, you're trying to level up, or maybe you need some help with your investments, whatever it is that you guys need, just have any questions, just holler at me.
I love it. Oh, Trevor, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
This was like so informative, so tactical. That's what I love about, like, we talked about that at the beginning, but I just feel like there's so much here that someone could take and immediately do something with, which those are my favorite episodes. I'm telling you, like, that's like the outro to my podcast is like, what's your number one takeaway and how can you implement it right now? So I feel like there was so much here that everyone's going to have like one takeaway. So listener, as you're like tuning in, like, what is that one takeaway that you could do today that will start to change the game for you? Because there was so much today. What was the thing that really had you feel most expanded? Again, dropping into your body. What was the thing that had you feel most expanded? Lean into that today and let us know how it changes your life. Seriously, tag us, message us. We can't wait to see how that transformed your life. So for everyone tuning in, thank you so much for giving us your most precious resource, your time And until next time, bye.
Bye.